When a person dies, what happens to their body depends a lot on both culture and location. Different religions and cultures handle death differently. Some cremate, some bury, some embalm, and some don't. In the US, death often looks something like this. A person dies and their body is taken to a funeral home. They're either cremated or embalmed and laid to rest in a casket. The casket is then buried in a cemetery, usually in a concrete or metal vault designed to protect the integrity of the ground so the landscaping doesn't sink as materials underground break down. Urns, too, are often buried, also in vaults. These practices may be common, but they're not necessarily environmentally friendly. So, what does a greener death look like? And how can you help the Earth after you die?
Tim and I were married for just short of 33 years. It's one of those things that you read about and you never have instructions for, is the idea of the good death. The idea of modern burial where you have embalming and you have mahogany caskets with brass fittings or satin linings, and then there's a concrete grave liner, and oh my goodness, that contradicts everything my family felt about protecting the environment and having a light footprint on it.
Enter natural or green burials. Instead of filling bodies with chemicals and burying them in underground Cadillacs protected by vaults, people are buried directly in the ground in shrouds or biodegradable caskets. These are often made from raw pine, wicker, grass, paper, or bamboo. An entire market of natural death products is available. You can even be dissolved in water or have your body composted after you leave your mortal coil behind. So join us as we explore how death became toxic, the different ways people are greening death care, and how you can feed trees with your body after you die.
The term green burial is rather new. Many Islamic and Jewish faiths and many other faiths and cultures around the world have been practicing green burial since the beginning of time.
For most of human history, death was green. Even the embalming done in ancient Egypt used non-toxic materials like oils, resins, and salts. Burials were chemical-free and the materials were more or less biodegradable. And many cultures never stopped these practices. But death in the US changed in the 19th century during the Civil War. Thousands of soldiers were dying far from home. Instead of being buried, some bodies were filled with carcinogenic chemicals in a way that would allow them to be shipped back to their families for burial without completely decomposing on the way.
In this country and in our society, we are very death avoidant. So seeing a dead body in its natural state is considered by some to be traumatic. We want our loved one to appear as they did in life. And for many people, that helps with the grieving process.
When Abraham Lincoln died, his body was famously embalmed and taken on a train tour back to Illinois. This propelled the popularity of embalming, and the industry grew. There was real money to be made. Death care transitioned from something done by families in their homes to something done by professionals in mortuaries. Today, death care in the US is an estimated $20 billion business, and modern burial practices have become culturally important ways for people to honor their loved ones during times of grief.
Here, it's culturally accepted and expected in many regions, especially here in the South, that we're going to have a viewing. We're going to see the deceased. We're going to get to say goodbye. We're going to get to have a pretty memory picture of what their death looked like.
Of course, big corporations are still responsible for the vast majority of global pollution, but just how much stuff is the funeral industry burying? Each year, the US uses 4.3 million gallons of embalming fluid. And just so we're clear, embalming fluid is a carcinogenic cocktail generally comprised of formaldehyde, methanol, ethanol, and phenol. Add to that an estimated 1.6 million tons of concrete, 20 million board feet of hardwood, 64,000 tons of steel, and 17,000 tons of copper and bronze. All of it is being sent to rot in the ecosystem underground. So if you're thinking you'd rather be cremated instead of buried, you wouldn't be alone. The oldest known cremations date back 40,000 years, and major religions like Hinduism and Buddhism hold the practice sacred. Since 2015, gas-fired cremation has been the most popular death care practice in the US. In Canada and the UK, more than 70% of people are cremated. And in Japan, nearly everyone chooses cremation. But gas-fired cremation is also harmful. The process emits more than 500 pounds of carbon dioxide per body and uses roughly as much energy as a 500-mile car trip. So what can you do? For those who spend their lives trying to mitigate their waste stream, what green options are there in death? Natural burials, in which you don't need chemicals, a casket, or a vault, are legal in all 50 states. You can be buried anywhere you have permission as long as you follow local guidelines. If you'd like someplace a little more formal, there are hundreds of green burial cemeteries around the world, including throughout the US. These facilities don't allow embalming, and everything that goes into the ground must be non-toxic and biodegradable. This type of memorial park is where Laura Cameron buried her husband, her mother, and the ashes of her father and aunt. Her husband and mother's caskets were raw pine, with wood-burning decoration on top.
Having my family in earth and not in an artificial park, if you like, it makes me want to go visit them. For me to want to go and see them in a place where I'm surrounded by birdsong, I'm in a setting I really want to be in.
If burial isn't your thing, other options include human composting, also known as natural organic reduction, which is legal in Washington State, Oregon, and Colorado. According to the company Recompose, bodies are placed in a container with wood chips, alfalfa, and straw. No added heat is necessary. Microbes do all the work, even decomposing bones and teeth. A cubic yard of compost is created, which the family can donate to conservation projects, take home to fertilize their own gardens, or feed to their loved one's favorite tree. Human bodies make good fertilizer, after all. Water cremation, or alkaline hydrolysis, is also legal in many states and countries. This process uses about 90% less energy than flame cremation, and the liquid byproduct can also be used as fertilizer. But what does all this cost? Price-wise, natural burials can be much cheaper than traditional burials because you're not paying for embalming, a vault, or an expensive casket. This is also a reason why green burials are often considered a kind of secret menu item at funeral homes. Experts say that funeral businesses and cemeteries often don't advertise these options because these services bring in less money, so you have to ask. But aside from being buried in your own yard, the cheapest form of disposition is likely still gas-fired cremation. Countless biodegradable products are available for burying ashes, often made from paper or other materials that easily break down. There are urns designed for sending ashes into the water or planting in the ground, and ocean lovers can even have their ashes made into a concrete reef, designed to build a habitat for coral. So from direct burial in the earth, to water cremation, and human composting, to biodegradable urns, there are lots of choices when it comes to a greener death. Ultimately, decisions around death are deeply personal. We all want to honor our loved ones in ways that feel significant, but there's no one right way to do that.
I think that natural burial helps the living heal and process grief, especially if the deceased chose natural burial for themselves, because you have the peace of mind of knowing that your loved one got what they wanted at the end of their life.
I am a big proponent of green burial. I don't think it's for everyone, but I think anyone who wants to feel they're touching the land lightly when they leave it, it's a great option.